Welcome to the spine-tingling world of our unholy tales, where fear takes its darkest form and every shadow holds a chilling secret. We are your guides through the twisted and nightmarish tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat, clutching your pillow for dear life. Get ready to embark on a journey into the abyss of your deepest fears as we explore the realms of the supernatural, the macabre, and the unknown. The Douglas fir had stood on the mountainside for over 300 years, towering silently over the snow-covered evergreens around it. When the Pearson family, Carol, Mark, and their teenage children, Jenny and Brian, arrived at the secluded cabin they had rented for Christmas, the ancient tree caught their eyes immediately. "Wow, look at that huge fir tree," Jenny said, pointing at the towering Douglas. "It's incredible." "It really is impressive," Carol agreed. "It must be over 100 feet tall." "I bet it's been here for centuries," Mark chuckled. "Have you ever seen one that big before?" Brian was already wandering towards it, trudging through the deep snow. "I wonder how old it is." "Hey, Dad, can we cut it down for our Christmas tree?" Mark hesitated. "I don't know. Seems a shame to cut down such an old tree." "Oh, come on, please," Brian begged. "It'll be epic. We could decorate it from top to bottom. Best Christmas tree ever." Carol laughed and put a mittened hand on Mark's shoulder. "It would be pretty incredible decorated, I'm with Brian." "Well, I guess we are out in the middle of nowhere," Mark relented with a smile. "Okay, go grab my axe, Brian." The ancient fir seemed to shiver as Brian took the axe to it with powerful swings, making slight progress through the solid wood. On the 17th swing, as the metal hit the core with a determined crack, a shriek suddenly pierced the quiet mountainside. Carol jumped with fright. "Goodness, what was that?" Mark scanned the snowy woods surrounding them. "Sounded like some kind of wounded animal." "Or a dying one," Jenny muttered. She gazed up the towering height of the tree apprehensively. "Do you think we should stop?" "We've already started. May as well finish," Mark said. "It'll be quick. I'm sure that shriek didn't have anything to do with the tree." As he picked back up the axe, another shriek ripped through the silence, this one sounding almost human. Carol covered her ears, waving a hand frantically. "Mark, stop. There's something wrong. I can feel it. We have to stop." "No way!" Brian protested. "We can't stop now. I've almost got it." Without waiting for a response, he snatched the axe from his dad's hands and swung hard into the gash he had created. This time, instead of a shriek, a hollow moan emanated from the fir's core. Brian stared with confusion as a viscous scarlet liquid began oozing from the gap in the bark. "What the?" Mark breathed. The red liquid was dripping faster now, running in rivulets down the pale trunk. Before their eyes, it began taking on a globular shape, solidifying into several bulging, berry-like clumps. They shimmered wetly in the late afternoon sun. Jenny wrinkled her nose. "Ew, is that tree bleeding?" "Of course trees don't bleed, don't be dumb," Brian scoffed. Still, an apprehensive prickle ran down his spine. There was something very unsettling happening here, as the bloody clumps suddenly dropped off the trunk with a sickening squish, landing and immediately merging into a formless scarlet mass in the snow. Slowly, impossibly, it began to take on the crude shape of a human figure. Arms, legs, torso, and head rising like blood-coloured taffy from the slowly flattening pool. A collective scream pierced the air as two dark, yawning pits formed in the oozing face. The gore-like substance shaping into eyes appeared to focus on the stunned, terrified family. Lips split wetly into an imitation of a jagged smile below the orbs. A deep, croaking voice burbled out. "Who dares desecrate my form?" Carol stumbled backwards with a whimper, clutching her husband's arm. "Oh my God, Mark, what is that thing?" "You have disturbed my peace." The bloody figure swelled larger, the mouth widening impossibly across the dripping red parody of a face. A thin, reedy arm rose, one long finger extending towards Brian. "You shall pay with your souls." Screams of terror rent the air as the scarlet demon lurched towards the trembling frozen family. They spun and fled in a panicked tangle of limbs, half running, half falling through the deep snow. Behind them rang an inhuman cackling. Somehow they made it back to the refuge of the cabin, slamming and deadbolting the heavy wooden door behind them. Panting harshly, Carol raised a shaking hand. What just happened? Was that some kind of monster? Mark held up his hands helplessly. I have no idea. I didn't know cutting down a damn tree could release a demon. A heavy thud hit the door, making the walls shake. All four of the family members shrieked and clung to each other. "It found us," Jenny wailed. "Oh God, we're going to die." More blows landed. Brian leapt forward to throw his shoulder against the buckling wood. "Barricade it!" he yelled. Working frantically, they dragged the heavy oak dining table over and propped it at an angle against the door, just as a clench-fisted arm punched through the cracking wood. The scarlet limb flailed blindly, then withdrew. "That won't hold long," Mark panted. "We've got to get to the truck, make a run for the main road." Noises of splintering wood rang from the front of the cabin. Cautiously, they crept to the rear door facing the mountain slope. Mark inched it open, and they peered out. "I don't see it," Carol whispered. "Maybe it didn't realize there's a back entrance?" Single file, they began slipping out into the snow. Suddenly a crimson figure sprang from beside the open doorway. "Going somewhere," it leered. They screamed and reeled back as an axe swung, just missing Brian's head. Weeping in terror, they retreated back into the cabin. The spindly, oozing form stalked after them, waving the blood-encrusted axe casually. Backed into a corner of the front room, they huddled together as it approached. "Please, just let us go," Carol begged tearfully. "We're so sorry we cut down your tree." It paused, cocking its head. The yawning pits of its eyes seemed to blaze with inner fire. "My physical form matters not," it rasped. "But you invaded my domain, slew my spirit, without respect or sacrifice. That cannot stand unpunished." It paused, tapping one drooling finger against its chin. "Still, your deaths, while deserved, gain me nothing. Instead, your souls shall fuel my rebirth." With that, the dripping scarlet figure lunged forward. They screamed and clutched each other tightly as it flowed over them like a breaking wave. When Carol cracked her eyes open, she was stunned to feel herself still alive. The demon was gone. She slowly sat up, shaking, looking around at her family. They seemed physically all right, but staring at their faces, she gasped. Their eyes had changed. The irises were now the blackest pitch, with thin rings of glowing gold around the outside. And as she gazed into them, she felt strangely cold. "Mark, kids, your eyes," she whispered. As one, they turned to look at her. She recoiled with a strangled cry. Behind their dark gaze, she saw nothing. No trace of the people she loved still remained. Their mouths split into grins. "Yes, Mother," Brian, or the thing inside him, said in an odd hissing tone. "Our souls were forfeit, but our bodies still remain to house the ancient one you have freed." With dawning horror, Carol realized she was now trapped alone with the demon possessing her family. Its rasping, dark laughter spilled from their mouths as they closed in around her. The towering fir they had cut down slowly absorbed its spilled blood back into its wood over many days. By springtime there was no trace of the gory liquid, only a small gash near the centre of the trunk. The following winter, few woodcutters dared to approach the solitary tree towering over the abandoned cabin. but it was said cries and shrieks could sometimes be heard emanating from the forests around it on cold, still nights. And deep within its ancient wood, 3 souls howled silently in torment, while a 4th laughed without end.